Hey, Saul,
Yes.
if I should have to leave this meeting in the middle of it and I haven't started the thing that I have scheduled, it's in my mini seminars and it's the last one in section C.
Okay.
I don't think I'm going to leave, but you never know.
Okay. I'll make a note of it.
Okay, let's see. What have I done? What haven't I done? I haven't renamed myself. Okay. Let's see. Oops. Yeah, that's all right. Live transcript is on. All right, I need to go and set up what I am going to show today. And where did I put that? There we go. Whoops. Well, maybe. Well, we'll see.
Good morning, all.
Morning, David.
Boy, it's sure the usual suspects. Look at that lineup.
Yeah. Okay. So, Will, I was wondering, why does your things come up as MUFON Inc.? What's MUFON?
Oh, you need to Google MUFON. Gave him a license to lecture. I'm serious. Go
Okay.
MUFON. It has to do with aliens and spaceships.
The Mutual UFO Network.
Yes. Is that what it says?
Yeah.
Yep. And you don't want to get a look at Will's ears, you know. That's why he wears that headset. They're slightly pointed.
Arlene, before we get into the meeting, are you aware of Donnie Kramer's passing and the service today?
Yes, I'm planning to attend virtually. We're under lockdown here.
Is there a virtual attendance at the service today?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I-
I'll go back. I probably have.
It was an email from Westminster.
Yeah. If you could forward that to me, I'd appreciate it. I don't remember seeing a Zoom invitation. I would prefer to attend it virtually also.
Okay,
Thank you.
I will disappear for a while and try and come up with it and send it to you.
Well, if it, let me look for it first. Before the end of the meeting, I'll let you know whether I was able to find the invitation or not.
Okay, it's this afternoon, so we have time.
Right, thank you.
Good morning, Marty. Good morning, Connie.
I want to comment that Marty is keeping my fingers to the grindstone. She keeps asking questions. She even found the section on my mini seminars website where it says, make suggestions.
I just sampled to see if it would go through. I wasn't sure.
It went through. I'm
Yeah.
pretty busy the last.
Although I had an old priest that whenever you came up and suggested something to him, he thanked you for becoming the committee to make that happen.
Yeah.
And I suppose that never worked.
And one of your suggestions has turned into a presentation by Ross Malloy, probably next week.
Good, good. Yeah, he's not here, so I wanted to know about my carbonite thing. Yeah.
Maybe
Well, whenever,
in a bit.
whenever. How is everybody?
Good.
Good.
Happy and healthy, having recovered from my COVID from 3 weeks ago. So
Oh my gosh, how about that?
it wasn't bad, but it's the sort of thing that you don't worry about it for yourself. You worry about it giving to other people. So
Of course.
I mean,
Yeah.
after about
wife
3
is
days,
sleeping
you either get better or else it goes downhill.
What kind of symptoms did you have, if I may ask?
The first day or so was just a bit of a fever. So I thought, maybe I've got a regular cold or maybe I've got this. And so it didn't go away in a day. So I tested, it tested positive. And then about the third day, I got a really sore throat. But after that, it was fine. But they started me on some of the antivirals, and I was on that for like a week or 10 days to do that. But after about the fourth day, I felt fine, but was on enforced staycation.
Right, right. So you had to then just retest yourself or what?
Yeah, the thing is, when I got done with all the antivirals, I in some ways, even after the 10 days, you can still test positive on the antibody test. If you want to be really sure, you got to go take the PCR test.
PCR test. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I find the guidance kind of confusing, especially since I've been like exposed. Somebody had it, I was exposed. And so I just found the guidance on what to do.
In some ways,
difficult to follow,
Yeah, in some ways, if you've been exposed, then keep yourself isolated for a couple of days to see if you get symptoms.
Right.
But whenever you have any symptoms, go and test yourself after a day. And if it comes up positive, then you go through the rest of it.
Right.
How
Right.
long from the time you had your first indication that you might have a problem until you finally tested negative?
Well, in some ways, I haven't tested negative on the antibody test, and I didn't. But after 2 weeks of being symptom free, then I was back into society. But first week, I had my mask on all the time. Now I've done that. But it's the sort of thing that with the antibodies, they're testing that basically the antibodies tell you whether you have or had COVID, because the antibodies are there in your system. Whereas the PCR test is telling you PCR tests can be expensive and you have to really ask to get them. So But I waited my 2 weeks and did with the full string of the antivirals.
If you're in the military and you live in San Diego, you can just drive down to the hospital and get in line and you get a PCR test. And they also hand you a free test at home kit.
Yeah, I've got several of the antibody tests at home, and that's basically, that's what I use to see if something happened and I'm testing positive. So that was.
Let's see, we're up to 12 and it's 10:28. So we'll wait a while.
Okay, I have a really funny question to ask while we're waiting. Does anybody have one of these? It's a contour box for Cox cable.
Yes, I have one.
I'm just trying to get it open so I can replace the batteries. I mean, I'm struggling with it right now.
I
Do you
think
have any?
mine's downstairs. I'd have to go look, but I think there's a,
It should be pretty easy, right?
Yeah,
The
usually
places
they have something
slide.
that you press and you can slide it off. At the
I
back
know,
there.
I'm looking at it, and every time I try this is I don't know what to
Yeah.
do.
I'm not sure. Some of these things are
I
not what I
know.
call old person friendly.
Well, this is not Connie friendly. I'll go with that. So I had another remote. I had my television on. I wanted to turn it off. So I used another remote.
Mhm.
Isn't that terrible? This one I'm just struggling with again.
Did it come with the manual?
Who knows where that is? I'm just asking because we're here together
Yeah.
and we're waiting. See, here I am. I'm trying to get it open.
here I am.
Okay,
Okay.
sorry.
Let's see if I can,
It fades out because of your.
here's the back of
screen.
mine.
Yeah.
We
Mine,
don't.
and if I put my thumb on the little ridge
Okay.
and
And
push sideways,
push, oh, sideways.
yeah. Push down toward the bottom and then that
Oh, push.
Yeah.
comes
Got it.
off.
Got it. Right, so the ridge is okay, thank you. Thank you, thank you.
You're
I was
welcome.
having a moment.
Connie
SCG
Vickers,
supplies an answer again.
I know, exactly. Exactly. I really appreciate it. Some days
Want
are
to know
more
anything in the whole
challenging.
world? You want to know anything in the whole world, just come to a Zoom meeting of the seniors computer group.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. I'm afraid you're
Yeah.
going to tell me the easy way to do something that I just spent a lot of time doing the hard way
Yeah.
today. So I'm
Yeah.
very interested.
Although-
Connie Vickers?
Yes.
Is this your first time on our group?
It is not.
No,
It is not.
she's been here a
You've been on
couple
before?
times.
I've been here a couple times and trying to figure out
you?
how to, now I'm trying to figure out how to get the battery out.
Hi, Connie.
Hi, I saw you. There you are. Hi,
Are you with the Walkabout group?
I am. I am.
Okay, that's how
Yeah, Stan invited me.
I didn't have you listed for some reason.
Yes, I need to join. I'm having okay, success. I've got the batteries out.
So Connie, it's not
Yes.
you. That's just bad design. They should print something right where the ridges are and says, press here
Press
to
here."
remove battery compartment
Oh, I know.
cover.
Every time I struggle with it and it opens and I don't know how it opens. So I just go, oh, thank you. And I go on. And so I
They
thought I'd
almost-
just ask. I'm ready. I'm
Almost
ready.
all battery boxes slide.
You know, what I was doing was I was sliding it down and then I realized the design of it doesn't allow for that. It slides, well, somehow I got it open. I'm afraid to.
So, well, I've had a lot of things where it's hard to get the batteries out because you got to try it. Sometimes I just get a little piece of string underneath it like that so I can pull the battery out.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
And, but, as you say, a lot of things are not designed well. I remember a few things that they, in the battery compartment, they had like a little ribbon that sat under the batteries. You just pull up
Yes.
in the ribbon and then batteries
Mhm.
pop out.
Correct.
And for the ones that don't that, I make my own little piece of wire or ribbon.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And so basically, I just take a little piece of wire and I put it underneath there so that when it comes time, I can just pull it out.
Okay.
You know, I read about something I didn't know before, but batteries normally don't discharge on their own. But if they're in a magnetic field, they will discharge. That's new knowledge to me. I didn't realize that, but
Okay,
you get a battery in a strong magnetic field and it will completely discharge.
Ross looks like he's,
So the batteries that we have, like alkalins, they make charge by a chemical reaction. So just sitting there on the shelf, nothing around them, they will discharge. Has nothing to do with a magnetic field.
But to discharge,
You're breaking up. I couldn't understand what you said, sir.
they better
You're still breaking up.
when you connect the back, still breaking up, huh? Okay, I've got a kid playing a game somewhere. It's my problem. Tell him to get off the game.
in the meantime, we'll say good morning to Fran.
Good morning, everybody.
Hey, Fran, were you, how are you associated with this group? Are you a member or from what? I don't think you're from Walkabout, are you?
We're not hearing you, Fran. You're,
She's a friend of Pat's.
Oh. Okay,
We can see your lips, Fran, we can see your lips moving, but we cannot hear you.
Really?
now we can.
Now we can.
Yeah, it was probably just a weak moment. Yeah, we lived in San Diego for 20 years. And I knew Pat from when we both went to school in Detroit. So I'm a card carrying member. I paid my dues.
oh, good, okay. My apologies. I didn't realize you were a SCG member.
Yeah. I don't know what walkabout is. I don't even know what it is. Sounds fun.
Okay.
I'll join.
She's part of our
Something that
international.
Our president belongs to, and he is always touting Walkabout. And he's brought in some members from Walkabout. By the way, if anyone here comes to our meetings regularly and gets the invitation to them regularly, but is not a dues paying member, you are traveling on the coattails of those who have decided that they are filthy rich and are able to pay the exorbitant $15 a year membership fee. And if you'd like to join us by paying that membership fee, we'd be happy to have your money, as well as your smiling face.
I know you're talking to me. I know it.
Aha.
I just need to figure out how to do it. I think
Have
I
you
have to
found
print-
our website?
Yes.
It's
Now,
on-
Connie, we're not always talking about you.
But if the
I knew
guild fits-
that. I knew that. I confess, I haven't paid my dues. I don't
Well,
think.
there is a tab on our website that says join.
Mhm.
And that's where you find out how and how much and where to send the money and how to send the money and how to send the application form and all that jazz.
Okay, I'm doing it right now. I'm looking it up.
Well, it's 10:37. And wow, we're all the way up to 19 members. And a couple of those just showed up. I'll wait a couple more minutes since we're still getting members. Kind of surprising to see people showing up.
While we're waiting, I'm going to send a quick note out to Arlene. I could not find a Zoom invitation. for Donnie's service. So I would appreciate you forwarding it to me.
Okay, will
Thank you.
do.
So I got a quick question. I like these video filters and virtual backgrounds. And when I go to video filters, it says it's been disabled. Is that from your end? Because I have it turned on in my settings. So is that turned off as part
No.
of?
No, I think if I click video settings, I can get,
I just turned my Hawaii background on. It could be, are you logged into your Zoom account? Or-
No, well, I just led the link I just clicked on the link in the mail
Okay.
and I got a Mac, right? So I suppose I could log in and then enter the numbers. Would that work differently?
Yeah, I think my Zoom thing, I tell it to leave me logged in. So whenever I open it up, I'm logging in with my account. So
Fran,
Yeah,
does it work in other Zoom meetings?
not necessarily, no. So
I think David is correct. You need to log into your account first. Then you can follow the link in the email. Then it's going to pick up any settings that you have in your account versus
Okay,
just going in with the link.
I'll give that a try right now. I will disappear and reappear magically.
Okay, I will just say that I am not logged in, but I can get to the studio effects if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah,
And so I
Yeah.
don't believe what was stated is correct.
so, but I have them turned on in my settings, so I don't know, maybe I need an update or something. Or it's the update that turned it off. I'll give it a try though. Thank you,
And
Sal.
I will say that the Zoom app is a little flaky in this regard. Sometimes
Yeah.
they do just disappear. So sometimes reinstalling the app helps.
Okay. Well, I'll be right back.
So
Like magic.
Mr. Saul, if you're not signed in, where do those settings get stored?
Presumably on my computer.
I understand.
There is a difference between the backgrounds and the studio effects. The backgrounds, sometimes you do need to be logged in. And even though they're stored on the computer, they won't appear. But I think the studio effects are always there.
Yeah,
Where do you
because
find-
backgrounds
do
are
you-
there. The background, choose a background, but like on Windows, I can put on lipstick. On this one, I can't for some reason. I know
Yeah,
that's
and
very important.
It's just an inconsistency in the Zoom app.
Okay.
let's see, somebody said they were leaving. I don't want to start while they're gone and going to be right back.
That was Fran.
Yeah, and I saw Lupe sign in briefly, and she is not there now.
Yes, she is.
Oh, she is?
I see her
Yeah.
video tile.
I see Lupe. Hello, Lupe.
I'm not seeing her.
Who said they would be right back?
Fran Alborg.
Is she back?
Not yet.
Well, then I'll wait a minute.
And Stanley is turned into an avatar.
Anyone have a Q&A question while we're waiting?
Why can't I see Lupe? You say you see her.
There she
Huh?
is.
How many people do you have as a count on the participants, Stan?
Hi, Lupe. You're
Funny.
muted, so you need to unmute.
Okay, I'm the
There you go. Welcome aboard.
thank you. Is there more than one page?
No,
Yeah. Well, it
There are
depends
20
what device you're on. If you're on your tablet, there's probably several pages.
Okay,
There are
because there's 20 right
whoops,
now.
Somebody just disappeared. There were 22 participants a minute ago. Who just,
Fran popped in and then popped out.
Yeah, she was gonna sign back in, somebody.
Okay, you're good, still good. You're still there, Lupe.
Okay,
Same with
thanks,
Will.
Barbara.
Will disappeared.
Will is still here on his video
I
tile. He just doesn't have his
exactly.
camera on. And
That's
maybe everybody could stop talking for a moment. And Stan, how many participants do you have on your Zoom app toolbar?
I have 21.
That's correct. And Lupe is among them.
I just want to quick say that Lupe is a guest from Peninsula Shepherd Center by a personal invitation from me from a recent meeting. And so this is her first introduction to the Senior Computer Group Zoom meeting. Say hi, Lupe.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Lupe.
Hi, Connie. And I hear Mary Margaret. Is she there? No?
Nope.
And
Okay.
Yeah,
David.
Barbara's there.
Hello,
Yeah.
Lupe.
I hear Barbara
Yeah, and David.
and see Barbara and David.
Yeah.
I don't see Stanley.
I'm the Fox or
Oh, he
the
went Foxy.
He looks like a cartoon character right now.
And who is number 22 who disappeared?
Maybe Fran. Is she still here?
No, I don't see Fran. I
Not
think
currently.
Yeah.
I see Eileen Frame.
I do too.
And it was Fran who who said she was going to, right?
Okay. Let's get started with our meeting.
Eileen, is this your first meeting? You're muted, Eileen.
No, Arlene is
Oh,
not.
I see Stanley.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to go start the presentation, I think.
Okay.
Let's see if this works. Share. And now. There are times when you might want to attach a large number of files.
On the screen.
to an email. So you put them all in a folder and you want to attach that folder.
No video, Hank.
Well, no video?
So
No
better.
video. Oh,
Yeah. Oh,
No,
on again.
A video and it's a little low.
To an email. Hold on. Okay, now. What do you all see now? Sol,
We see a File Explorer window showing the icon for the video.
okay? And if I double click on this icon, now what do you see?
You should start it first and then share it.
There are times when you might want to attach. Okay, you're not seeing it now?
No,
No.
because we're seeing your File Explorer window, you should start the video, pause it, and then share it.
That folder, I heard you. Email. Well, attaching one or two files is easy, but you cannot attach a folder as is. Can you hear that?
Yes.
That you have to
very
convert
faint, very faint.
file. To do that, you right click on the folder and Internet Explorer. Hold the phone. You click send to, and then you choose. There we go. All right, now.
Fran is back.
Didn't work.
Patience, people, patience.
My goodness.
We're still a bunch of amateurs, Lupe.
That's okay.
Now,
Yeah, not a problem.
you have all been muted. All right, and here Let's see if I can remember where this is. Ho, ho, ho. It's in Camtasia 3. It's in attaching a folder to an email. It's in a folder, attaching a folder to an outgoing email. Now let's try this. Share screen. Share what screen? Bah. That's not working. Huh. Well, that's difficult.
Hank, would you like me to try playing it from my computer?
I don't know. Yeah, you'd have to get it from my mini seminar.
I already did download it, I'm saying.
Okay, go ahead. Give it a
Okay, give me a moment.
sure. Doing what you suggested did not work. I started it, but I couldn't find it when I went to share. Oh. There are times when you might want to attach a large number of files to an email.
Okay, can people see something on the screen at least before I go to play it?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
and we heard the
VLC
first
media
few-
player.
Okay, I just wanted to ask first before I kept playing it in case you weren't seeing it. Okay. All right, just give me a moment to get rid of this toolbar. And we'll try playing this then. Okay, here we go.
There are times when you might want to attach a large number of files to an email. So you put them all in a folder and you want to attach that folder to that email. Well, attaching one or two files is easy, but you cannot attach a folder as is to an email. To do that, you have to convert the folder to a zipped file. And to do that, you right-click on the folder in Internet Explorer, you click Send to, and then you choose Compressed. Let me demonstrate. In my computer, if I go to Internet Explorer and look in my documents often used, one of the items in there is SCG stuff. That's Seniors Computer Group, things that I have saved. And one of the things inside that folder is board agenda. And in board agenda, there are all sorts of files. Files for lots of different years and lots of different board meetings, et cetera, et cetera. supposing I wanted to send that board agenda folder to somebody, maybe our president. So I go over to my email program and I set up to compose a new email, and I go to attach. And when I get to attach, I go to documents often used, and then I go down to SCG stuff, and then I go to board agenda and I try to click on board agenda. When I do, it just opens up all the things that are inside that folder, and I can choose one of them, but I can't choose all of them all at once. So what do? Well, I go back to Internet Explorer. I go to board agenda. I right click on it, and I go down to send to, and I find compressed zipped folder, and I left click on that. And all of a sudden there is a new file, not a new folder. There is a new file called boardagenda.zip. And I can go to my outgoing email now and come to my documents often used and my SCG stuff. And in my SCG stuff, there is a boardagenda.zip. And when I click that, it is now attached to this email that I haven't constructed yet. That is just how you do it. I hope it helps. Thank you, Saul. Are there any questions?
Yes. How does the person on the other end open it? Just like a usual file?
Yes, and when they open it, I think the first step will be, I think the first thing you will see will be just the thing that looks like a folder, only it has instead of an icon that looks like a folder, it looks like a zipper, or a folder with a zipper down the middle of it. And you click on that, and then it opens the individual things that came in that zip folder, and you can open each one of them separately.
Okay. The second question is Saul, probably for Saul, since that was the Windows thing, is the Mac pretty much the same, or?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, basically, there'll be a built-in way to compress a set of files into a single zip folder and attach it to your email.
Okay, thank you.
That's it, Pat?
Yep, that's it. Sorry, I should have said how many questions I had.
That's all right. That's all right.
Okay.
David.
David, you're muted. There you go.
There I am. Yep. Got to do the etiquette thing here. So one of the things that I've sometimes had a problem with is some email systems will not take very large attachments. If you are trying to put in a big audio file, or let's say you wanted to, we're making a recording of this session here, that big file will maybe several hundred megabytes. What I found when you want to send big things is usually the best way is to put them into the cloud somewhere, and then you give someone a link to that place in the cloud that they can do that. I can't remember instantly how to make that happen, but I think once you get into either your Google Drive or something, you can then do the equivalent of that send to that Hank showed us. But what will get sent is actually a link to the position in the cloud that file is. That way, the other person can then download it from that link to their machine. But I've seen that when we don't when the files get too big, the size that it chokes at used to be about 5 megabytes. Is probably more like 15 or 20 megabytes now.
It's 25 for me, and I would like to demonstrate how to do what David just suggested.
All right, that would be excellent.
We can probably do it today after everybody's finished their other questions, but we'll see.
Okay, I got another question.
Barbara.
Yeah, my question is kind of a follow-up on Pat. Is there some way you could demonstrate the person receiving the email and what happens when they do click on the attachment, what they have to do?
I might be able to do that because I get a zipped email every month from my property manager.
Okay, I'll leave that with you.
Either do it now or make it a separate presentation later. Wait a minute, I'll make myself a note.
Okay.
The question I think is though, what email program are you using? Because each email program works it a little differently. It seems to work better for my clients if we find a way to save that attachment to their computer and then uncompress it. Because again, each email program does things a little differently. Some will allow you to open them up, each one. Some will not allow you, and you have to download that file before you can uncompress them.
Okay, thanks, Ross.
And I think any can download it, no matter which email program you're using. You can download it and uncompress it later, right, Ross?
I have not seen a situation where an email program does not allow it to download, but I have seen more of an issue of late where AOL requires that you download it versus to let you open it up directly within the program. Now, I don't know if that's settings in their local AOL email program, but it does show up, but it does not show very easily that at the bottom, there's an option to download that particular file to your local computer.
Okay, I'll show you when I get to doing this. Next up, Marty.
Okay, my question is when I send things to other people, is there a risk that they can, I don't know, get into my files somehow that I'm always worried, you know, like even when I send a picture or something, can they come back and get into all the pictures that I have or that kind of?
So Ross?
So no, if you are the one that's controlling sending that particular set of files or individual file, then no, there's no way for them to come back through that path and have access to your computer.
Okay.
If you use a service where you're sending a link to another service, Dropbox, OneDrive, something else, then yeah, you kind of need to be careful and read the options there. Are you giving the person access to these particular files or everything that's say within that folder?
I see. Okay,
Or-
good.
Or sometimes it's read and sometimes it's write access.
Again, that's an option with when you're using a service. If you're using an attachment, then no, you cannot, the person can't. Speaking to that, as Hank was talking about, or David also mentioning that the limit is 5 million for most email systems, because it's dependent upon whoever your email provider has set as a limit. Most of them have an 8 megabyte limit. And when you put an attachment onto an email, it shows you generally how big it is. But 8 megabytes is not very much anymore. Gmail and a lot of the other systems let you go up to 25, which is a lot better than 8, but it's still not very much. Sending a link to a shared service like OneDrive is or a Google Drive is a way to do that also. I like using a program called Solar, SOLAR, sendit.net. Now, you can send up to 1 gigabyte worth of information in a compressed file. You have to have everything in that one file. You can't add things to it. But if you make a compressed file, as what Hank showed, and it gets to be 400 or 500 megabytes in size, then you're going to have to use some type of a service. Then I would go to Solar Send It, like I mentioned. That's just the website, solarsendit.net. And then it says, tell me which file you want to send. What it does is it takes it and recompresses it again, and then you creates a link for you. Now you attach that link to the email and you send it to whomever you want, and then they download that whole file and uncompress it in their computer. They don't have access to anything else.
The only thing I would say to that is, if you're sending really big files, if you're putting them on your OneDrive or your Google Drive, you're using up some of your allocation on that drive. Whereas this service sounds like it's a separate bucket of bytes.
Right. It's a completely free service. There's nothing to sign up for. I've used it for 5-6 years now, and it's always worked flawlessly for me. And again, at one time, you go into there and say, this is the file that I want to grab. It uploads that to that service and as a compression. Then it provides back to you an email link. You need to copy that link from that service and attach it to an email to send to somebody else. And that's, again, something that you can test yourself. You can do a few files, create a link, send it to yourself, and then see what happens when you click on that link. And then just be aware that it does take a while to push that file up, depending on its size and your internet speed. And again, the same way, when it comes down, it's going to take a while for that user to bring it down, again, depending on what their performance is and how big that file is.
Connie?
Okay. My question is, I understand the process, but I'm trying to, and I've been looking at my iPhone here, I'm trying to send photos from my iPhone, in a folder, but I don't know how to create the folder on the iPhone. I'm going to try your process using my computer with folders I already have, but I don't quite understand. And I know this isn't part of the presentation today, the moving things to the iCloud and getting them back. I don't understand that, because basically what I want to do is move some folders into, folders of photos off of my iPhone to my computer. I guess that's what I'm trying to do. And I don't know what that process is.
Again, I think that's a separate presentation.
Yeah, I do too. I do too. Yeah.
And actually, I did send Hank recently a suggestion for a topic, and it might be part of that one, is using smartphones and how to do certain things on them that aren't the same as on a computer.
That would be great. I'm going to try this process you just talked about on my computer. I didn't even know that capability was there.
You can call Apple and say, I need help with, and you can say iCloud on my phone and then iCloud on my computer. And that's either Windows or a Mac. And then once you set that up, then it automatically synchronizes that information from one place to the other. So if you have an iPad, an iPhone, and a desktop computer, those pictures show up on each location. Now, the downside is that they give you 5 gigabytes worth of space for free, and then you have to pay money to go to the next levels up. But it is really cheap. For $1, you go from 5 gig to 50 gig. And I think for $2 or $3, you go to like 200 gigabytes. And that's the really, really cheap. And it works very well. It once it's set up, synchronizing goes very well on those Apple devices.
Ross,
thank
is that $1 per month or $1 per year
Per
or?
month,
Monthly.
monthly.
As you will see, if you go there, most companies are trying to come up with a subscription way on a monthly basis that you pay them some amount of money for everything.
And that is lucrative. It is much more lucrative than one-time payments.
Well, if you were to go in and say, I want to sell my business, the ones that you have contracts for that bill other people on a monthly basis, your business is worth a whole lot more money.
You're not planning on selling your business and disappearing in a puff of smoke, are you, Ross?
No and no.
Good. We would miss you terribly.
You've got to be an awful big puff of smoke.
That's funny. Patricia.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions, but I just wanted to ask Connie, you can make albums on the iPhone, and I'm wondering if the album, this isn't the question, this is, but what from, if you make albums, aren't they also folders? So you're sending, can you send an album? I guess that's part of the other thing.
Yeah, can I send an album? Saul is shaking his head no. That would make it really easy, wouldn't it? Because I do have albums. So I'll just wait for that different presentation, I think.
Okay, same.
Yeah, I just spent, this moving of the subject of today's presentation is of interest to me because I just did this and it was very time consuming what I did. And okay, thank you. Yeah, I'll look at the albums. But Saul's shaking his head no.
Yeah.
Miss Connie, I would recommend that you again work with getting the iCloud to work on your desktop computer and you manipulate your pictures there. That's much easier to do than to try to do it on an iPad or an iPhone. Being able to click on things with the mouse and move them where you want them to go, again, is much easier for there. It will synchronize to the same information. So if you make folders, they will show up on your other devices. But that's more of a selection, saying, I want you to select these items by this particular date, time, name, and then put them to another place.
You can use your phone as a camera to take pictures, but your computer is a much better place to organize them.
I agree. I agree. I'm in trouble there. I need to be doing that.
Again, you have an Apple device and Apple is very, very supportive of you because you have an Apple device. If you call the Apple support line and say, this is who I am, this is my email address, they'll look up and say, okay, give me the serial number or show you how to come up with a serial number for your device. Once you have that, you can say, how do I? And they'll show you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so I have a two-part question regarding the sending files and stuff. The first part is how many millibytes? Is there a place besides the trial and error process where you can find out how many millibytes you can send? And the second is a question that's related to that, because usually they ask if you want the small, the medium, or the large, and they've got certain millibytes on that. But what I was always wondering is, what is the person on the other side seeing? Does anybody know that one?
So if I could answer that, Pat?
Sure.
When email started, and some of them are still at this level, as Ross alluded to, I would say it's actually safer to say 7 megabytes is the maximum size that you could attach to an email, not 8. And while some providers, such as Gmail, may let you do 20 or more megabytes for an attachment, to answer your question, yes, it does depend on the recipient of the email. If the recipient's email service provider limits it to 7, then it doesn't matter if you can send 20, they won't get it. It's a system. It has to work end to end.
Okay, yeah.
What,
So,
what
And
email
the answer-
service do you
the
use,
answer
Pat?
to your other question, Pat, which is there one place to go find this? I think is a resounding no, because every email system on both ends is different.
So you
oh,
have to first check with your provider. Who is the last name of your email address?
oh, well, I use hotmail.com or google.gmail.com.
Well, Google lets you do 25, and I kind of think Hotmail lets you do the same. But then you could Google for that maximum attachment size for Hotmail, and
Oh.
it should come back and tell you. And then you need to say, okay, I'm going to send it to Mary, and Mary's got a Gmail account.com. Then you know that she could get 25 megabytes at her end.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But again, if you use if it's beyond those limits, using the Google Drive or Solar Send It would
Mhm.
let you go up to Solar Send It, lets you go to 1 gigabyte, 1,000 megabytes.
Okay, so then, but again, the recipient may not be able to handle that.
Solar Send It has nothing to do with that. You send a link. And
Oh,
then
okay.
they directly go to that service, to Google Drive, to Solar Send It, and then request that one file to be downloaded directly to their computer. And they don't have to worry about. Now, it does get to be at a certain point, how much space do they have on their computer? But that's a really small amount to what in general their computer will hold.
Oh, okay. All right.
Are you done, Pat?
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Very
Will. Mr. Wakely. Wakely disappeared. No, he didn't. Where is he? Maybe he did.
He turned his video off.
He's at the bottom.
Oh, there he is. I see him.
Yeah, there you are.
And he lowered his virtual hand.
And is, okay, are you done, Will?
I'm having real internet problems and I don't understand because I've got 30 megabit speed. But anyway, if you can hear me. is
Yes.
it
Yep.
Yeah.
breaking
No,
up
we can't hear
bad?
you, Will.
Because it's
You're
breaking
cutting
up, I'll,
out, cutting in, cutting out.
Okay. Okay, I'll
Um,
stop.
Okay. I was about to demonstrate what I promised to demonstrate, but I got another hand. Yes, Dan.
Yes, let's get back to the basics. First thing you have to realize is what is the file extension you're sending? Because some people with older computers or different operating systems may not be able to recognize or open that file.
But all we've been talking about today, I believe, is the .zip. Could you send another file type? Yes, but as what Hank showed, or if I mentioned with Solar Send It, that's a .zip. If you use Google Drive, yes, you can do any file type that you want, except I don't think it'll let you do an executable. I think it'll block that.
Well, what I was referring to is even if you're sending a document, sometimes people send documents in formats that no one else recognizes, or some people don't recognize, I should say.
Yeah, like a DOCX, and if you don't have Word of the right variety, the right vintage.
Right.
Okay, what else, Dan?
That's the main thing I was trying to get across here is, and the other thing is, if you want to test some of that, you can send an email to yourself, but you can't, the file extension is going to be good on your computer because you sent the document. But when people are questioning when they send something, whether the attachment is going with it or not, you can send an email to yourself and look at that.
As to the documents that you mentioned, Dan, it seems to be less of an issue these days than it used to be. For a Mac, the Pages program can recognize most formats on there. or if it's an XLS, it can open it up with the numbers program. If you're on a Windows or another based computer system, if you have the one of the open office programs, that they will then open that file up. I recommend that most people send things as a doc file if they want to have it recognized by most other systems. If you're going to try to use it for publishing, I really like them having the same program on both ends, because then what it's going to look like is just what it's going to look like on both sides.
I have someone that insists on sending me videos, and lots of times the video format is not compatible.
I use VLC player, and it seems to be able to play most of the video formats because the ones in Windows or based in the other programs don't seem to have all the decoders that are in there. But VLC program, that's a free download, seems to be able to handle most of it.
Yes, I have downloaded that, and that helps considerably with that.
Yeah. The other thing that I just wanted to say, sometimes if you're sending docs, those are files that they can then edit on their end, which is maybe that's what you want to do. If you want them just to see it, I will often print it to a PDF and then send the PDF. And PDF stands for portable document format. So it's got a lot fewer issues with being unreadable on other systems.
Yes, well, that comes back to recognizing the file type you're sending.
Are you done, Dan? Okay, Dan took his hand down. I'm now going to demonstrate something that I do every month that covers large files and how to send them. I'm going to do it in Gmail. And the reason I'm doing it in Gmail is, one, it works for me, and two, if you don't have a Gmail account, you can get one very easily, and it's free. And it has lots of capabilities, and the sizes are pretty big. So here is my screen sharing for the moment, which is my Gmail account. And supposing that I click on Compose, and supposing I go down to the paperclip, which is the universal signal. Hold on, wait a minute. Let me see if I can move that. No, I can't move that. Bah. Oh dear. Just a minute. More.
You can change the magnification on your screen, control roll on the mouse and make it larger or smaller, and it might put it in a different place.
Maybe. Just a minute. All right, let's see where we are. Can you see this? Can you all see the paperclip?
Not quite.
No, it might be. Do you have the closed caption showing?
No.
It might be. Okay, I just thought that might be what was blocking it. Okay.
Now we can see paperclip. There we are.
Now, can you see the paperclip?
Yes.
Yes.
Above it, it says attach files.
Yes.
Okay. I'm now clicking, and it's asking me to select the file that I want to send. All right. The file, I send my Quicken file to my daughter because she is, wait a minute, Quicken files, here we go. Oh, great.
Well, you could send the latest one.
QIF files.
Don't make Hank mute everybody.
I'm looking for the QData file. Come on, where are you? Hold on a minute.
It doesn't matter what file you send, just grab a file and send it.
Just a minute. I want to grab a file that is over 25 megabytes. Patience, people, please. My file is in Documents, Quicken in 2019, Dell Q Data. Okay. So let's go back to this. And I'm looking at, I should be looking at Documents. And then DQ, Quicken in 2019 Dell, and there it is. Okay, there is my Quicken file, which is, let's see if I can look over on the right-hand side. Can you all see this? This
Yes.
is 61.8 megabytes. So if I click this, it will say your file is larger than 25 megabytes. It will be sent as a Google Drive link. And then it is loading this into, I think, my Quicken Drive folder. And when it finishes, I want to show you the rest of this. So have patience a minute until this actually loads.
It's uploading it to Google right now,
Yeah, right.
not on your computer. Again, it's putting it in the cloud at Google.
Okay, thank you, Ross. I had never looked into where that was actually.
Well,
going.
it does that so that when you catch that, but it creates that link, it's sending it back to a place within Google. That's why it takes so long to do this, is it's pushing it up to Google right now.
Yep, has to get it all the way up, all 60 megabytes, 60.4 megabytes.
It also means that that file is available for someone to download, even if you turn your computer off.
Yes, dear. Just a minute. I will cover that.
Yeah. Well, it's you have to provide them the link. I would think it would be very hard for anybody to find that particular file because it's not putting it up to your Google Drive. It's putting it up to a service within Google, I believe.
And besides having the link, there has to be one more thing, which I will show you as soon as this 60.4 megabytes is into the cloud, and we're about 3/4 of the way there. So a little more patience, everybody. And I do this all the time when I upload the recording of this meeting to the Seniors Computer Group website. I get to choose who can see it. For that, I choose everyone. But for this one, I do not want my Quicken file to be read by anyone except my daughter, who is my executor. And the reason I send it to her every month, at least, usually a couple or 3 times a month, is that I was 90 2 weeks ago today, or no, yesterday, and I could disappear with or without a puff of smoke. Okay, recipients. I'm going to send recipients to my daughter. And Quicken file is the Quicken file. And now I click send. And when I do, it says someone needs access to that file. As of right this minute, the only person who can see that file once I send it is Dana Miller. That's the only person I can do it. Or I could, if I click this, and I'm sure not going to, anyone who got the link can view it just the way anyone who goes to our website any time can view the link to the recordings of our website. So this is the other safe item. You know, if I click this, don't give access, nobody can look at that file, even if they got the link. But now I click send, and it has gone. And my daughter will be able to open it. And she stashes them away regularly. Are there questions? Let me stop the share. And any questions about how to do that?
Yeah, I got a question relating to Quicken and sharing the file. You're not, she does not modify that file. That's only for her information. Is that correct, Hank? You're the only one that modifies that file.
No, I believe that she can download the file and open it in her copy of Quicken and then do anything else that I could have done.
Right, but then does she make modifications and return it to you so that you can have benefit of those changes?
No, no.
Okay, thank you. That answered my question.
The whole purpose of my sending it to her is if I go to the hospital and go into a 2-week coma, which I did one day about 4 years ago, she can start paying my bills. Or if there's something a little bit more permanent about my absence.
So I would be careful with being able to have her be able to open and modify it. Quicken and QuickBooks are really changing their security and are requiring that you sign in to be able to access even some of the information on your computer. A remote program like Splashtop or something else would give her direct access to your computer and could run it from there. Of course, she could take that file and see if she can open it and see what QuickBooks is or Quicken is asking her to be able to access that particular file. There are online versions of those programs now that would make it easier, like what Stanley was talking about, that if she made changes, then she's making changes to the file in the cloud. But I understand what you're saying is this is a backup procedure. And again, I would have her make sure that she can actually open that particular file, read it, and do what she needs to do with it.
Thank you, Ross. I will have a little conversation with her on that subject. That's important that
Every
it has to
system,
be done after I'm gone.
yeah, every system that gets set up has to be verified.
Right. And with Quicken or the other programs, they're all trying to support
Yeah, they're all
increase
trying to
their
protect us
security.
from.
So even though it worked 3 years ago, it doesn't mean it'll work today. And as a little side note on Puff of Smoke, my wife is talking to Neptune Society today for us.
Goodness. Dan.
Now that you've created that file, do you have access to it? You gave your daughter access to it. Do you have access to it?
Well,
I still have it on my computer.
Well, I understand that. But you've created a file out in the cloud. My question is, now can you delete that file? You've got some very sensitive information out there. Can you get rid of it or can you control it at this point?
I don't know.
I believe what you're using is a service at Google that no one has access to other than the person that you emailed it to. And once it's downloaded, I think it disappears from Google. Of course, that would be a good thing to check, but it isn't as if he's sharing it through his Google Drive, which is another way to do it. As far as going back to your local computer and saying, okay, I sent this file, it's compressed, I'm going to uncompress it, and now I'm going to see if it'll open in my Quicken. I would be careful with that because of the index files and the other files that Quicken creates along with that one particular file. You almost need to go back to a backup within Quicken to say, I want to create a backup file, and then you send that backup file. And there's also a way to do a file backup when you're going to send it to an accountant, so they can access it. Then it makes sure that everything is there that needs to be for someone else to look at it. It's kind of touchy sometimes. You want to make sure you get all the information there and it can be usable at the other end.
Otherwise, you're paying for an accountant not being able to do what he needs to do. But also, Ross, I was thinking, if you have sent a link to someone and you said if they download it, the file goes away, does that mean it's a one-time link?
I understand the question, and I have not looked at that within Google. But again, you can send it that way without having a Google Drive account, I believe. So I don't think it has anything to do with your Google Drive. So again, it would be somewhere within Google. How long that link is good for, I don't know. As I mentioned earlier, the Solar Send It, you can set a time limit on there of up to a week. Say 1 day to a week that file is available for download to that person that you sent that link to. So that's a way to control it from there. Sharing it through, uploading it to your Google Drive, then you have control over who can access what, read, write, and I do believe that you can say for this period of time.
All right, there was another question. What does it look like to someone on the other end?
Saul has a hand up.
I just wanted to say, I think the train's gone off the rails here because of a Quicken. Just focus on the concept. Don't worry about Quicken so much. It could have been any kind of file that Hank was sharing, okay?
Yes, I just wanted to say that there's lots of information out there that no one knows what happens to it. It could be sensitive information.
Okay, back to on the rails, I believe. The question was, what does it look like to someone on the other end? I am now going to demonstrate that because I get a zipped file every month from my property manager. And I'm now going to share my screen. And you now can see that I'm showing you my Internet Explorer, my whole.
That's correct.
Okay. And one of the things I have under documents often used is, and it's the first one at the top, which is, I got it there by the way, if you ever want to do that, if you have to go down way down here somewhere every time and you go to that folder a lot and you would like it to be at the top, change its name to 1- whatever it was, and it will be at the top. So if I click that folder and then I click a particular property, which is where the only one that my property manager managed when I set them up, and I then go to Total Office, which was the name of their company when I started with them, and I click on that, I have all this stuff that has come in year after year after year from Total Office. And so far in 2022, I have January, February, March, and this is what they look like. Let's look at the last one that came in, which was June 1st to June 30th. And you see that the folder looks like a folder, except it's got a zipper down the middle of it. And if I click on that quote folder, it unzips.
Well,
it's what is in that zipped folder. Lots of different things, just regular files in that zipped folder. And I can open any one of these by just clicking on it the normal way, which I am not going to do because it's none of your damn business. Oh, excuse me. All right, are there any questions about that, about what it looks like to someone who receives a zip file and how they get at it?
Thank you, Hank.
You're very unshare.
I have a quick question. What if you wanted to save those files separately and not keep them all in the zip?
They're in your computer separately. They're
No,
also,
but I say like I had a file and 2 I had to send somewhere else and 3 went to another file.
well,
So I
let's-
just go, when I click on them, then I deal with them individually.
let me try to answer your question. Take the example that I used in the demonstration, the one that said board agenda. That folder that has board agenda stuff in it is still in my computer. The folder is, and within the folder, all those individual files that were originally in that folder are still in that folder. When I right-clicked on the folder and then left-clicked send to, and then went over and selected compressed, when I did that, I created a new file in that same folder, which is a zipped file. But all the individual files in my original individual folder and the original individual folder that said board agenda are still where they were in my computer. I didn't do anything to them by compressing them into a new zipped file. Does that answer your question?
No, that's like the opposite of my question, but that's okay. I understand what
Hold
you're
on,
talking about.
What was your
What-
question? I thought you said what has happened to the.
No. I said when I unzip it, and I want to save it to a certain place, and I've had problems with trying to save it to a different file.
So I always recommend people try to use save as everywhere, because that way you're in control as to where it's saving it. Now, as with Hank showed, he had a number of files that were in there that he was displaying, and the Windows Explorer program was temporarily opening those and making those available. So if let's say it's a word processing document, you could then click on that word processing document, it would open up, and then at that point,
Yeah.
you could say, save that one file to wherever you wanted it. Or
Yeah,
you could,
and then it wouldn't have to dependent on the Explorer or the Chrome.
that's correct. Once you have opened it into, say, Word, and then you do a file save as, then it's going to be saved as the document type that you save it as, like a docx. And then it has nothing to do with the zip program, and you don't have to worry about that. Now, I would not be too concerned. Zip is very, very reliable. I use another add-on called WinZip that gives me more options as far as the file type I want to create. And it also gives me the chance, if I wanted to put a password on that. So if we're saying I'm going to send a particular file, again, I could password protect that, send it off, and it makes it that much harder for someone else who intercepts it to have access to it. Nothing's perfect, but it makes it that next step harder.
So I downloaded, you can do takeout from your like Google Pics or your Google Docs. And I got like 12 different zip files of pictures that I had to open up.
Yep.
And I ended up with them being saved all over the computer. I guess I didn't understand where to send it to first to just get it with my pictures.
So again, if you right click on that file, once you have downloaded it from your email program, it should give you the option to say extract all. And then you give it where you want to put that. If you want to put it into one subfolder, or have it go into the nesting, say under your photos, it can put it there, but that is your option to do. And I
Thanks.
would, that the way I try to recommend people do it is they do it with a folder or a zip file that has 2 or 3 folders in it and only a couple things in each one of those folders. So if you do it wrong, you don't have a lot of cleanup that you have to go back to and get rid of. The other thing I'd recommend is when you go to look for a file, if you're on Windows, then you can have in there, what's it called? Your recent documents. Quick access. If you click on quick access, it'll show you the files that you were recently working on. And that way you don't have to go look for them in whatever program it was. If it was a picture, an Excel sheet, a Word document, it's in that list of the files that you recently worked with.
Thank you.
David,
Yeah, I was just going to say that oftentimes, once you get that zip file and you put it on your thing, you can use the Explorer to open it up, or you can right click on it and you can say uncompress, and then it actually makes a real folder with real files that are in there. And then those files you can then just use with the regular Explorer stuff to move them wherever you want to move them. Sometimes there's a bit of an issue if you open a file that's inside a zip thing and then you say save it, it's trying to push it back into the zip, and some programs have a problem basically pushing it back into the zip file, because it's going to take the file that they had and then it has to actually recompress it and put it back into the zip file. So I always tend to unzip it, working with regular files, then when I'm done with it, I'll zip it up again and send it.
I think that's when you're looking at that particular zip file as an attachment in an email. You have not saved that file out of your email to your computer. And I understand what you're saying is that when you go to save it, it's trying to push it right back in there. You've made a change to it and save it back within the original zip folder. So I would recommend most of the time that you try to save that file, that zip file that you got as an attachment to your computer, and then work on it from there.
I don't see any more hands. It's 11:45.
Must be time for Q&A.
I thought we just had Q&A. No, guess not.
This was presentation follow-up.
Any cues other than for the presentation and the discussions that followed?
Well, for Joan and I, it's 3:45.
Well, that's getting pretty late in the day on a Saturday.
Tea time, isn't it?
It's 1:45 for me.
It's almost Saturday. That's really interesting that we have that many
Out of time zone people.
adjective, dispersed people. Lots of people that I'm kind of, you all, the ones I see here week after week after week, you are stalwarts. You show up thick or thin. And I personally really appreciate it. It takes a certain amount of my time to put this thing together and to keep finding things to entertain you with. I'm glad
Hank,
to see
we
that-
appreciate it very much. And I would like to have everyone give Hank a little thank you for all the work he does.
You're very welcome. And it's seeing 21 people, as I did a little earlier, that makes it all feel worthwhile. So if you know somebody else who might benefit from this and they don't know about it, tell them, give them my email address. I'll get them on the list.
Okay.
All right, let's see. Joan Edwards.
Yes, I have a site problem. I send Word documents to my brother, and he receives them as DAT documents. Now, I heard someone say earlier, if I send them as a DOC, maybe I'd have better luck than DOCX.
Well, Doc, Dog Oscar Charlie, that is the older format from Microsoft on saving it. If you do it as a DocX, it is actually compressed. So it'll be much smaller and it's repairable. So if something gets messed up in that, when it's transferring from one computer to the other, Word is able to repair that document as a DocX. Most new programs of any kind of a word processing program should be able to open and view and change a doc or DocX. But my preferred way would be to say, send it as a DocX file. And then when you go to save, again, I always try to make sure that I use a file save as, because it's telling me this is what the name of the file is, this is where I'm going to put it, and this is what the last name of the file is going to be. And if you say, I want it to be, say, a PDF, you just go down to the bottom, click on that little down arrow where it says doc, and then you can choose any one of those other options as far as I'm going to rename it to this type of a file.
I do that, but when he receives it, it comes as a DAT file.
Is that boy alpha tango?
Oh,
Cat,
DAT.
DAT, Dog
Data.
Alpha Tango.
Data.
And if I can address that
Thank you, Saul.
with a couple minute history on email, because it's relevant, is email originally was designed as a plain text format, like texting these days, without the emojis because they didn't exist. Okay. And as far as I know today, that's still true. Okay. The only thing all the email systems know how to do is process plain text. I know it looks like magic because we make enhanced HTML kind of emails and we do file attachments and all that, but all of that stuff has to get encoded as plain text for the email system to process it, send it, and receive it. And when you attach files, the recipient system may be different than yours, and how it comes in and how it gets decoded. And it wasn't all universal and almost seamless like it appears to be today. This used to have to be done manually by the sender and by the receiver. And there were different protocols in how to encode it and how to decode it. And Windows did it one way and Macs did it another, and Linux and Unix did it another. And the twain never met. Now it's almost seamless. So it seems like you don't have to even think about it, but it still happens. And the DAT is common of Windows type mail, that is Hotmail and Outlook and those types of things that seem to convert stuff differently when they're received. And as a result, only they can figure it out, but other recipients can't when they get it. And so that's in a nutshell. So my last comment would be, if you're sending somebody that's basically something that's text, like a Word document, put it in the email message. Don't attach a file. It's just text. Put it in the email message. Keep it simple, and they will most likely get it.
Well, they did get it. It is plain text. It is just recipes, and he wanted 3 of them. And so all 3 came through as DAT. So I finally put the 3 in the body, but it was a pain.
It almost sounds to me like he's saving the whole email, not the attachments. That's where you're coming up with the .dat ending on there. So again, he's saving the whole email versus going to the attachments and saving those individually.
I will check with him to see if he is doing that.
I have seen, Ross, people get this all the time using like Hotmail and certain Outlook type programs. I don't know why, but I'm just saying it's not a matter of saving it. When you look at the file attachment, it has changed the file extension to .dat.
And that's if it has done just that, then you sometimes what you do is you just go in.
It's more than that, David.
Okay,
It really,
yeah,
it has
yeah.
converted it into something that is only recognizable by itself.
Yeah, okay. Well,
Why did it do it? I suspect that Joan has sent this as a DOCX. Is that right, Joan? Nod your head.
Yes, I did. And then later I did send it as a DOC, but I haven't heard back from him about that.
I would suspect, and this will be interesting, I'd like you to report back when you find out, but I kind of suspect that he has a Microsoft Word program vintage 1992, no, well, no, 1988. That's probably the first Microsoft Word program. And he doesn't have a program that is able to read a DOCX file, but he probably does have a program that is able to read a DOC file. It will be interesting to see if that's the way it shows up on his computer.
Hank,
Yep.
if I could add to that, and Joan can verify this, did you also send that as a PDF file attachment? And it came out as a DAT. So
That's
there
what-
goes that theory.
That's what he said. No, I don't know for a fact. If
I'm
he-
telling you, this is something on the other person's end and what they're using for their email. And
No, I am sending this from a Mac.
it's not your end, it's the recipient's end.
Okay,
And that's what I'm telling you is that the wonderful thing about standards is that people don't always interpret them the same way. An email does have standards, but different email service providers interpret them differently.
well, I'm talking to him tomorrow night, I think. So I will check all these things out and get back to you next Saturday.
The way that Saul recommended, where you cut and paste the recipe into the body of the email, and I would have you send 3 emails, each email having a different recipe in it. That would be, if he can open it up and read the email text, then he'll have the recipe.
Yeah, well, he did, even though I sent them all 3 at once. He did get them.
I think we're done, Joan. Miriam.
I just wanted to say today's discussion about attaching big files and folders to email was one of the best ones we've had in a long time. And I want to really thank you, Hank.
That's really, and it's very interesting to me that I started out doing this thinking, this is really pretty simple. All we got to do is zip it. And look at all the discussions we've had.
Yes, a lot came out and it was very useful.
Great. Fran.
Just a quick survey talking about 1988. How many here started the computers before Windows when it was just DOS, DOS? That's why we're all here.
Yeah.
And
I started working on 71 on computers.
Oh, they were big then.
and
I started programming in 1959
Whoa, where'd you do that?
at UNIVAC.
Wow, very
Really?
good.
You're history book person.
Right,
I
a
want
long time ago.
Maybe you need to do a presentation one of these days.
And I got into computers via Fran, so he got me into all of this.
now sharing my screen, and you might notice that there is something here that says DOS box. I still use DOS for my contact list.
Oh my
And the
God.
program was called Name Bank in Time Design. And I have 3,500 and some odd contacts and their telephone numbers and their dog's first name and all that stuff in this DOS program.
How did you get your DOS program to work on present day computers? Because I have a lot of things that I put in
command prompt.
DOS.
Google DOS box. You see this thing up here at the top?
Yeah.
DOS. That is how I do it.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
And-
Wish I knew
and
that a
do
few
this-
years ago before I gave all my little floppies away.
And I do the same thing for a couple of spreadsheet programs that I have, and I still every weekend do a complete history of all the latest values for the ETFs that I track. I do that in Lotus 3. for
Lotus
dots.
Lotus 123. I remember that one. Yeah.
I still use it.
You use it with Box? Is that Miriam?
Yeah, it's Miriam, and no, I use it, it's in Windows. It's the very last version they came out with, which I think is like number 9, but I'm
Yeah.
still using it.
I have that too. I have a Windows version of Lotus 123, but
Yeah.
but I really use all the time, every weekend, is the DOS version.
Ami Pro, anybody hear of Ami Pro?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay.
No, it was by Lotus, so.
It was.
Yeah, and it got famous because it was the first one ever to give support on the phone for their program.
Dan. Get
Yes, file extensions. I some time back had interface with a lawyer, and they put a lot of files, a lot of email files on a CD and gave me a copy of the CD, and I had a weird extension on them and I couldn't read them. Then I found out if I emailed them to myself, and Hotmail would interpret them and let me read them. So it's another one of those things with the extensions, only some people recognize them.
That's interesting. So what you're saying to us is that if we have a file that we can't open because it has a weird extension, that we email it to ourselves, become openable.
Well, you can also check on Google and check for the file extension and see what it says about it.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll lead you in a path.
All right, I think it's getting kind of late. Anybody have something else they want to talk about today before we close this down? I have a couple of suggestions for next weekend, but they both involve me learning how to teach you all about an iPhone. And one, I don't have an iPhone, and two, I don't know anything about iPhones, and I don't think I'm going to get qualified in the next week. So
Can we draft Saul?
I think if you do it for an Android, it'll be close enough.
Saul is the one that suggested that I find somebody to do this presentation. I don't know, maybe David. Sorry.
You could check with Mary Burns, and she's doing summer school now, so you could ask her.
Yeah, Mary hasn't been on here in a long time. I'd love to have her come and give the presentation.
Or
And if
maybe even
you take
Ginny.
a class from her, please suggest that.
I'm quite familiar with the iPhone. What is it that somebody would want to know in the presentation?
I forget. But
My suggestion was sort of tips on how to do common things on smartphones, not specific to the iPhone, and that people have learned how to use that may be beneficial to other people who haven't figured those things out or are having difficulty doing them.
Well, just as the FYI, Mary is now doing her summer class on the iPhone. It's only 3 weeks, 2 hours. I just did the first one. I don't know if it's open or not. I know she's doing, next month is going to be the Android, and that class is still open. I don't know how long that is. Maybe 4 weeks.
Yeah, I got a notice from Mary that the Android class may be canceled because they did not have enough participants.
Right.
But I haven't heard anything further, so. But I guess I better sign up for the fall class in case.
Oh, right, yeah. You can sign up now for the fall classes, by the way. I think I sent Hank all the info on that. Did you get all that, Hank? Emailed you?
I beg your pardon?
Did you get the email I sent you about the classes from San Diego Community College, continuing education?
Yes, and I think I forwarded it to everybody.
Oh, okay, good.
All right, I'm gonna tie this off for the week.
Sounds good.
Before we go, I want to tell Stan I did send him a link. If he has a problem, give me a call on the phone.
Okay.
Okay, have a good
Okay.
weekend and see you next week.
Okay,
Bye.
bye all.
Bye-bye.
Stay well.